Okay, welcome to another review. Today we are looking at the LTD by ESP EC401. So this colour here is the Olympic White. This is a guitar that I've actually had for some years, but much of what is on this is the same as the new ones today. Just if you are going out to purchase this, you may be watching this video sometime after I've made this video. Make sure you check the specs on the ESP website. Make sure things are still the same, because some of what's been changed is the likes of fretboards on guitars. I know Ibanez, I did a video on an Ibanez acoustic, and they have now changed their fretboard just in the middle of this year to a different wood, so now I had to go back and update that video. Which, by the way, I'm starting to do some research into different fretboards, so make sure you subscribe, and then when I get the next video out on those woods, when I find out more about them, then we can that can help you out if these guys change. But as of yet, they have not changed their fretboard. They are sticking to rosewood, which is good. The reason for the changes is, of course, rosewood is now an endangered wood, and there are a lot of regulations around the use of it. Cool, but without further ado, I will talk about the guitar a bit first. If you want to hear it, just go towards the end of the video, and that's where I will play it with a series of effects and also clean. But to start with, let's talk about what we've got. So the LTD range of guitars is basically the Indonesian made cheaper run of ESP guitars. So to buy this in the straight LTD version will cost you about $1,000 more. While we're there, on the back of the neck we have got Grover tuners there. We have got a rosewood fretboard. We have got EMG 60 and 81 active pickups. We've got a pickup selector here. We've got our 2 volume knobs, one for each pickup, so you can blend them if you're in the center position on your pickup selector, of course, and a tone knob. You have got a tune-omatic and tailpiece bridge. The hardware on this is kind of like a shadow chrome colour. I think on the new ones they're calling it black, but I think it may still be this sort of more shadow chromed, which is kind of like chrome but a bit darker. Cool. So you may have noticed that on that pickup selector, the little plastic knob that fits on there is missing. That's one of the first things that happened to this guitar after I bought it. It took about 3 weeks, and I actually own a couple of these LTDs. Same thing has happened. They tend to just split with use, and then they just fall off. I just leave them off because who cares? Like, you got to get pretty close to even see that that is missing. One of the features that I really like, particularly about this, it has got a mahogany 3-piece neck, which is a set through neck. It's also a mahogany body. But what I like, sometimes I pick out random things, but what I like about this guitar is the angle from the bridge to the neck. It's kind of hard to see on the video, but what it does is it kind of, if I were to sit that flat, see how the neck kind of tilts back? That's cool. When it's this way, it means the guitar almost wraps around you very slightly, bringing the neck back closer for ease of reach on the neck, which I like, as opposed to just being a straight guitar. Cool. So it's got a great neck. It is painted on the back. The paint doesn't tend to stick a lot. A lot of painted necks, I find that they stick to your hand as you're trying to move around, which of course is very irritating. This one doesn't tend to stick so much. It seems to still slide easy. You got a full 24 frets for 2 full octaves up there. Cool. So now we'll go through basically different sounds and that sort of thing, what it sounds like. I am going to be using a Vox Tone Lab EX. I've decided not to use an amp today. Instead, I'm just going to straight signal straight into the recording, hopefully to give you a clearer sound of what the guitar is doing rather than what an amp is doing for it. But remember, you can plug it into whatever amp you want. You can add whatever effects you want. The effects I add today will be very basic, just to give you a overview. But my suggestion is, one, look for bass tone, look for the tone of the guitar itself before you add effects to it, because you can add any effect to do anything. Start with good tone first. That's what you want to be looking for. My second suggestion is to get into a store and play one for yourself. Don't just buy one off the internet without playing it first. I say that for all instruments because all instruments feel a certain way, they play a certain way, they might suit you, they might not. So yeah, it's always my suggestion to get into a store and play instruments. Cool, but without further ado, in order to not take an hour to go through everything, I'll just keep what I'm playing pretty basic. Okay, so as to not to take an hour to get through different sounds and all that sort of thing, different pickup selections, I'll just keep what I'm playing really basic, just so you can hear what's going on. So I'll just play a few open chords, a few bars up the neck, and that sort of thing. Cool. So I'll just flick the microphone off so that it's not picking up any extra noise. give you some idea of different sounds. It's kind of hard trying to cover different sounds, especially when they're not pre-set up. I sort of have the sounds that I normally use, that are generally fairly basic, because normally I run through an amp as well. But yeah, that should give you some idea anyway. Hopefully that has been helpful if you were looking at purchasing one of these. The other thing I will say with these is there are a couple of things just around build quality. Obviously not being quite as expensive as the full ESP, little things like that knob that comes off. Couple of things in the wiring over time. I've had a couple of earth wires come off in it over time, which isn't a biggie, you just solder them back on. I noticed that occasionally the pots come loose, which is just a matter of tightening them up and normally repairing the earth wire on the back that it breaks off at the same time as it comes loose. So there's a couple of little things like that you got to chase now and then. But yeah, other than that, it's a decent guitar. Like I say, I suggest you can install, play one for yourself, see how it feels to you, and go from there.